3D Sonic can be good or very bad, but most 3D Sonic games are beloved, like Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Generations, Sonic Lost World, let me explain, but there's one series of games that everyone knows and loves, and that is of course the adventure games. Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 are some of the best that come from the franchise, with great stories, good gameplay, replayability, and giving us fan-favorite characters. These are no doubt great games. Sure, they have aged a little poorly, with lip syncing and the models, but the good definitely weighs out the bad. And with Sonic Adventure being Sonic's first jump to 3D, well, second, third, maybe actually fourth. Sega was fully confident in this being the best Sonic anything by date. So as you can expect from Sonic, it got a plush set. There were two waves of these. Wave 1 having Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Big, and a neutral Chao. And with Wave 2 having Amy, Eggman, E102 Gamma, and a Knights Chao. These plushes saw a US and Japanese release, with the US versions being on the Sega website, and the Japanese versions being in the famous UFO catchers, which are claw machines if you didn't know. These plushes are very popular among collectors, given how great they look, and that they're the first Sonic plushes to have the modern designs. So with that said, let's start with Wave 1 and work our way up, starting with my personal favorite. When it comes to any Tails plush, they all seem very similar to each other. I mean, sure, you can say that for any Sonic plush, but I find it especially true of Tails. You see, when you look at the popular and the most well-known plushes, you can easily tell what game or era they're from, because they actually try to make them look as close to either the game models or the cartoon art, if that makes sense, which it probably doesn't. The point is, when I look at this, I instantly think of Sonic Adventure, and that's how you make a good promotional plush. This Tails plush is very good, standing at around 14 inches. This plush captures everything about the modern design, and just makes it great in plush form. The bangs are nicely cut, the ears are shaped correctly, the eyes are plastic which looks nice, as seen with the pastel Sega Sonic the Hedgehog plushes, and the muzzle is correctly proportioned. The only real problem is the mouth, with it just being pink, with no actual detail. Moving down to the body, the chest fur is nicely cut, the length of the arms and legs are correctly proportioned, and I find it cool they actually gave Tails those bracelets, along with the buckle around the sock. The shoes look good, but there is a problem that we'll see later. Around the shoe and the bottom, the gray areas uses bad material that breaks over time, mainly in hot temperatures, and there's actually a plush who's covered in this, which is the Metal Sonic from the Fighter set, with some of the plushes being damaged. The tails are nicely stuffed and detailed, and just everything as a whole looks great, and for the first modern Tails plush it's amazingly well made. Knuckles is a very simple character, and it's pretty easy not to mess up in plush form, and thankfully this plush doesn't do that. This plush captures the coolness of early 2000s Knuckles, and just delivers in this amazing plush. What I failed to mention with Tails is the facial expression, with Tails having a cute one, but this plush having a cool but definitely goofy expression, which makes this a good Knuckles plush. The dreadlocks are spaced out evenly, and are stuffed so too. The muzzle is shaped well, which you don't really see that often when it comes to newer plushes, with most having a more Sonic-like muzzle. And lastly, the nose is nicely pointed, and the crescent moon shape is correctly shaped. Now the only bad thing about this plush is the gloves. I don't know if it's just me, but the hands look a bit small, same with the actual Knuckles. The tail looks very good, and is very accurate, and the shoes look nice. The little circles are separate with them being glued on. Now the problem with the shoes aren't really there. I've only seen one plush with the damage visible, but the rest I've seen look fine, which of course is a good thing. But overall this is a very good Knuckles plush, and is one of the best out there too. The next plush on the list is the most important, since it shows the future of Sonic plushes, with this being the first modern Sonic plush, and I gotta say they did deliver again. The plush stands at 15 inches, and looks outstanding. The face is a bit goofy, but it is charming. The ears aren't stuffed with them being hollow, and the muzzle is shaped well, and the back spikes look very good, and are stuffed well too. Moving down to the body, it is very big, which I guess is an issue if you wanted a more design accurate plush, but that doesn't really matter. Both the hands are in this pointing position, which may look weird, but when you look at this official art, this plush was probably based on it. Going down to the shoes, they once again look great. There's nothing wrong as far as I can see, although the fabric problem is a bit more noticeable on the Sonics, so be careful with this one too. But overall, this is an outstanding Sonic plush, and fits right into Sonic Adventure. Chows are very popular. Despite them not having a real appearance in the newer games, these are fan favorite characters, and given they played a role in Sonic Adventure, it's not weird that they got a plush. Well, actually too, but we'll talk about that later. This plush is the smallest, with it being around 11 inches. Everything about this plush is design accurate, and there's no problems at all. The plush makers did a really good job making this. The facial expression is pretty blank, but that pretty much goes for all Chows. Now when it comes to yellow highlights on the Chow plushes, they always make the two colors separate, instead of it fading into one another. But this plush is one of the few that actually do it right. It uses this airbrush effect that looks good. The plush is in the iconic sitting pose that looks good. Turning the plush around, we can see the wings. They look great with it using a shiny fabric. But overall, this is a great plush. The last plush in Wave 1 is the most detailed, and of course it's Big the Cat. Despite his in-game gameplay being bad, this plush looks very good, and even though there's only a few big plushes, this is the best looking one. It has that 1,000-yard stare as normal, and the side fur on the muzzle is cut pieces of fabric. That looks good. The ears have all the details with the inner and outer part. The ears are hollow, which causes them to flop around. The back hair looks very good. For the darker parts of the fur, like the arms and face, it uses the airbrush effect. The belt looks to be made with a bad material, with the buckle being made of a more generic fabric. The gloves look good, and the sandals also look great, but of course they're made with that bad material. The fishing rod is great, it's very detailed and looks nice, and the bait is a cutout piece of whatever this is, but as a Big the Cat plush, this is very good. The first plush I want to look at for Wave 2 is who else but Eggman. This plush is absolutely outstanding. Everything about this just looks like Eggman. He has the cool goofy smile that we all know. The shine in the glasses look very good, and the mustache is thick cut pieces of fabric. His eyebrows are done perfectly. They're not too pronounced, but you can still see that they're there. Lastly, the goggles look good and they're detailed. Going down to the body, it looks very good. The white parts on the side use this ribbon-like material that makes this look like an actual jacket. I'm not kidding, this is the best way to show his jacket in plush form. The arms length are good, and the hands look great. Going to the shoes, the white parts are separate, with them being glued on. Same with the design on the side. Lastly, the bottom of the shoes are just gray, but I do like that they at least put the little part on the heel. But as this is an impressive plush and is the best of the character. Next, we have Amy. You know, I really liked her story in Sonic Adventure, so I'm happy that she was given a good plush. The facial expression is good, and the outline around the eye is not too big. The muzzle is shaped well, and the bangs look good. Well, they use a darker color, which looks a bit off. Another problem is the head spikes. They kind of shoot out instead of it curling up to make it look like hair. Going down to the dress, it's well made, and there's not really much to say on it. The arms and hands are fine, though the rings have a bit of a problem. On a lot of the plushes, they don't stay on the wrists, which causes them to look like floaties half the time, but at least the rings look good. The last thing about her is the shoes, and no surprise, they look good. And just like Eggman, they gave the shoes a little part on the heel, so it actually looks like she's wearing boots. But even though this plush has its issues, it's still a great plush. I saved the best two for last, and sadly this is the worst, but not in the way you think. Here is the E102 Gamma plush, and as you can see it's really detailed. So what's the problem? Well, it's kinda covered in the bad material, which sadly causes this plush to be yellowed and look kinda gross. Which is sad knowing eventually this plush will just die out. So that's why it's important to preserve not only this plush, but all the plushes in the set. So with that said, let's look at the plush. The head looks good, and is even detailed in the back. The body is the big and main part. It looks really good and gets everything right. I mean, I don't really know where to start. The tube looks good, along with this hexagon thing. Some of the more little details are printed, which gives way to even more details. The arms and hands look amazing, and the gun looks outstanding. I'm just amazed about the sheer amount of detail they put on this plush. Now, this plush was the only E102 Gamma plush for decades, until GE made theirs in 2022, so at least E102 Gamma is getting a little more merchandise. But overall, this plush is very, very, very good, and deserves to be preserved. The last plush we have is the Knight's Chow, and for people who are asking, this Chow is based off a character from Nights into Dreams, which is another Sonic Team franchise. So this is definitely a special and unusual Chow plush. The facial expression is again blank, and since this is based off Knights, this Chow has horns. They are shaped and stuffed well and have a stripe pattern, which uses a darker purple airbrush effect. The last thing about the head is the ball and the way it's attached to the plush. To give it a floating appearance, they put a clear piece of plastic between the two, and to be honest, it doesn't really work well. It just flops backwards. Moving down to the body, we can see once again it's in the sitting pose. In the middle of the body, there's a brown highlight. The arms aren't stitched together, so it's just a normal sit. At the end of the arms, there's a darker purple highlight. Then on the ends of the legs, there's a brown highlight. Turning the plush around, we can see the wings and tail. The wings are stuffed this time, and they have highlights at the end of the wings. And lastly, the tail is shaped well. Again, the amount of detail on this plush is just amazing, and that goes with all the plushes in the set. These are genuinely amazing plushes, and just capture Sonic Adventure really well. Now that we looked at the plushes, let's see some history of these. In the set image for Wave 1, and by the way there's no image for Wave 2, in the image some of the plushes look really different. The Chow and Tails look normal, but it's the rest that look weird. Well, it's because these are prototypes and we're seeing them in their glory. Everything like Big being blue for some reason, Sonic's mouth being different with him having the iconic smirk, and Knuckles, the head is way different and not for the better. Now this wasn't the only time we would see these, since there are these Japanese commercials showing them going on adventures. Not only do we get a better look at these, but we get to see Sonic get tortured. You know what, I'm just gonna show the two commercials so you can see, because I can't honestly explain what's about to happen.
Sonic Adventure.
おいソニック、本当にやるのか？ああ。俺は冒険が大好きなのさ。
Okay, Sonic, go.
ヤッホー！あら
ソニックはアドベンチャーが好き。ソニックアドベンチャー。Dreamcast!
Sonic Adventure.
おいソニック、本当にやるのか？ああ。俺は冒険が大好きなのさ。
ソニックアドベンチャー。Dreamcast!
Weird, right? The last thing before we talk about rarity is these prototype plushes. From who else but Toy Island. Not really much to say. They're just smaller, cheaper versions of the Sega Prize plushes. But I gotta say, despite them being copies, these would have been cool if they came out. Okay, now let's talk rarity. Okay, for Tails, he's some reason $600. Knuckles goes for $300 to $500. Sonic goes for $400 to $600. Chow goes for $500 to $700. Big goes for $400. Eggman goes for $900 to $1,300. Amy goes for $1,200. E102 Gamma goes for $3,400. Then lastly, Knight's Chow goes for $1,200. Though on Etsy there's this listing. Yeah, take this as you will. And of course, since I can, let's rank these. Okay, so we have the Sonic Adventure plush set tier list. Here are the rankings. We have SSG approval, we have a good, we have okay, and then we have just buns. So I'm gonna rank these on how good they hold up and how good they look. So let's start with Eggman. Right off the bat, SSG approval. It looks like Eggman. Next we have Tails. Everything is good except the mouth, but it's a good. Chow, we have Chow, I'll have to give it a good. It's one of the best Chow plushes, but GE has been doing good with their Chow plushes, so it's probably like on that level of good. So next we have Sonic. I'd give it SSG approval. It looks like Sonic. Next we have Knight's Chow. You don't really see different Chow plushes. Like the most you see is maybe a Hero Chow, a Dark Chow, and then a Neutral Chow. So it is cool seeing like different types of Chow, so I'll give it an approval. Next we have Knuckles. Very good, derpy face, so a good. Okay, it's not the best Amy plush. I'll just leave it at that. E102 Gamma, the plush itself, this is not counting the wear and tear problems, is an approval, but because it has the wear and tear problems, I'm gonna have to give it a good. But if it didn't have those problems, it would be top tier. Then lastly, everyone's favorite character, Big. Let me just. All right, that was the listing. Not the listing. That was the tier list. Yeah. If If you made it this far in the video, then thank you. This video was fun to make and I hope you all enjoyed it. If you want to support me, then all I ask for you is to like and subscribe. But of course you don't have to, but it does help a lot. So with that said, I hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.